Alright, aka Peters, we're not done talking about Kevin Smith. I have to get this off of my chest. Let me explain.
Now the situation, the true Hollywood story, if you will, with the Superman Lives, and whether it was
nodding and shit, and he's like, well, you know what, we're gonna give you a shot at it. And I said, all right, awesome. And he goes, it's pending approval of the producer. And I said, who's the producer? And they said, Jon Peters. I said, all right, what do I gotta do? They're like, you gotta go meet with him. I said, okay. He's like, I got some directives for you if you're going to move forward on the process. Some things I want you to do and don't in the script. He's going, 3 things. Okay, I said, all right. He's going, 1, I don't want to see him in that suit. 2, I don't want to see him fly. And 3, he's got to fight a giant spider in the 3rd act.
So we have this Kevin Smith story, and very similar earlier on this channel, the Todd McFarlane 700 rejection letter lie. Very similar, this what I'm about to show you by Jon Peters from a documentary, The Death of Superman Lives, one of the greatest unmade movies of all time. Now that's legend and lore. Jon Peters inadvertently destroyed Kevin Smith, and Kevin Smith with the Spider-Man not Spider, but Spider, Superman versus a Spider versus a polar bear story that he built a lot of his commentary and speaking career on. And keep in mind, he built that on the back of Jon Peters. And Jon Peters, you guys go get into it, but Jon Peters has contributed so much more than Kevin Smith, so much more to culture, so much more of the movies that we love and the things that we do around cinema. You know, we and by what I mean by that, I just mean the excitement of seeing a movie. Jon Peters has he owns so much of that. But anyway, Jon Peters essentially just shuts down Kevin Smith. And during this you know, it's a good chunk of this documentary, they get into this exchange with Jon Peters and Kevin Smith, and Jon Peters just eventually just says, like, we didn't continue doing anything with Kevin Smith because I didn't feel like the guy was talented. I didn't think he was any good, and he just like decimates him. And it's hilarious that no one caught this.
What made you want to tell the death of Superman?
I loved, you know, dramatic structures. So the idea was the death of Superman, chaos rules, really, I knew could be amazing. I just felt it in my bones. When came in, I felt free with him. He was kind of an interesting character. We talked about a lot of different things. He was such a nut, and he was so animated, and he talked a great game that I trusted him.
And he goes, okay, 3 things I want with this picture. I'm gonna send you on your way, you do your thing, come back. Number 1, I don't want to see him fly. I said, okay.
You gave him some notes and you said the 3 things I don't want him to fly. I don't want him in that costume.
None of that's true.
Okay.
None of that's true. Of course he has to fly. He always flew. Superman, you talking about? Of course he's in the cut. None of those are true. Is there a 3rd?
Kevin handed in his draft.
Right. I called him and it just was no good. It wasn't funny. It had no structure to it. It was just unimaginative. And he was like, it was an amateur writer. He wasn't a crafted writer. And he was like, it was an amateur writer. And he was like, it was an amateur writer.
Okay, because like at the end of the day, Jon Peters has enough money to overshout Kevin Smith along the way, that where Kevin Smith is building his fan base, he's building his career off of this Superman Lives Jon Peters story. And Jon Peters, you know, it's almost like he would be punching down, even right now, fully defending himself and attacking Kevin Smith. And he just allows Kevin Smith to exist with this story. And I just feel like it's, you know, like we have to kind of be a little bit more critical, be a little bit more aware when we hear stories like this. And we have to understand that there's 2 sides to some of these things, and it is a business. And we get caught up on one side of these stories, and this I mean, I see right now with a lot of these Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko discussions where they're oddly one-sided, and people just want to take that moral high horse and act like that they're like essentially, you know, a commentator with some insight themselves. And look, I hardly ever call myself a commentator. I hardly ever call myself anything. But I will say this, to form some of these opinions, to have some of these thoughts, and to see what the threads are, you have to do a lot of study. You have to do a lot of reading. You have to do a lot of watching. You actually have to live a life, and you can't just read everything off the internet. You actually have to be there, and that's a little bit of what this channel is all about. I'm trying to give you guys a little bit some shortcuts, because there's nothing more that I hate. It really, not hate, it just irks me when I see these low-level, low-fruit ideas, comments, and even threads emerge on Facebook, Twitter, and, you know, even within my own YouTube comments. We have to be better. We have to go for bigger ideas. We have to understand that even though Kevin Smith tells this funny story, there's a whole other world on the other side of that story that we should be aware of, and we should consider. And I think what Jon Peters did in this documentary, he just told his version of it, told the story, owned up to so much of what Kevin Smith says, but is able to explain it from a producer's eye, from a producer's brain. And a lot of what Jon Peters says about the spiders, the polar bears, having scripts read to him, it makes sense. It really does. I mean, even when it comes to, you know, Jon Peters getting scripts read to him, there's times even in my 9 to 5 where you know, I'll just have people read things to me because I'm going to retain it and move on, and because like I'm just like focused. But anyway, aka Peters, I don't know. I just had to get this off my chest, and I know it's not really kind of like a big thing, but I just feel like I guess my contention is the Kevin Smith Superman Lives spider story is just bullshit, and I guess it sucks that no one thought he was a good enough writer to continue working on that project or anything else superhero from DC until what you direct a couple episodes of Arrow or Flash or something, but that's a big gap. AKA Patty here, guys. Love you. Rock and roll.